Today we're going to look at a couple of things you can do to help you sit more comfortably when sitting cross-legged. A number of people have to sit cross-legged if you're doing meditation or if you're trying to do particular yoga poses. So we'll look at how you can make it easier. Common areas of complaints are the knees, numbness in the legs, and pain into the groin and in the back. So we'll go into each of those and tell you what you can do to make it more comfortable. So the first area we'll look at is the knees. With the knee joint, the more your heel is towards your bottom, the more compressed your knee is and the more likely you are to get pins and needles into your foot. Also, depending on where you put your ankle, you're more likely to get pain into the foot and numbness and pins and needles very quickly after sitting. So in terms of knee position, what you want to do is have a wider knee position so that there's less strain on the blood vessels going into the foot. And in terms of the ankle position, what you want to do is you want to make sure your shin bone is not pressing down on this area here to compress the artery at the back of the heel. So if your leg is pressing down onto the ankle and the weight of your leg is on the ankle, then you're going to constrict the blood flow to the foot and you're going to get pins and needles quite quickly. So you want to create some room, so you want to bring your ankles out so you give a bit of space to yourself. The second area is the knee. So the closer, again, that your ankle is towards your bottom, the more pressure there is on this joint and the harder it is for blood to get into the leg. So the more pins and needles you're going to get and the harder it's going to be for you to sit. So the more you can open up your sitting position, that will allow blood to circulate. If you're obese or if you have very muscular legs, it's also going to be very difficult for you to sit for long periods without getting pins and needles. And for that, there's no easy remedy. Losing weight is obviously one potential option, but otherwise you may need to change position more frequently. Moving on to the hip area, if you have tight muscles of the hip, particularly the external rotators, then it's going to be very uncomfortable on your groin and in your lower back to sit. So these are some specific stretches that you can do to help loosen up those areas. But one of the most common things that is most useful with stretching is the duration of the stretch. If you have a film to watch or if you have something to do which really can kind of keep you mentally occupied and you sit cross-legged during that position, you'll allow the ligaments and muscles to stretch enough for sitting cross-legged to become comfortable. With the hips, one way to help you sit in this position is for you to sit in this position and watch a film. The distraction of the film will allow your hips ligaments to loosen, which will allow this position to come more naturally. During that period of adjustment, or if you've got quite a large build, there's a few variations that you can try. So bringing one leg back brings the hip into external rotation, which is a good stretch for allowing you to sit for longer periods of time, and it's a variation in terms of positions to sit in. So you can sit in this position for a while, sit cross-legged for a while. The next thing you can do is you can do a pigeon stretch. So bringing this knee into 90-degree position and then leaning over your leg, and that's a good stretch for the hip and the groin. And if sitting is becoming uncomfortable or you're struggling with it, this is a good position for opening up the hips as well. Lastly, the groin. So for larger people, the groin often is the area that becomes uncomfortable when sitting. So if you bring your feet so that the palms of your feet are together, and then push your knees against your elbows, and then push your elbows down, so you open up the groin, and then push in again, and then push down again. Repeat that 3 times to help the groin muscles to open up. So next time you're watching a film, sit cross-legged during that film to open up the hips. The third area is the lower back, and that's got a lot to do with posture. So if you're slumped, there's more stress on the joints and the muscles, and you're going to develop more back pain. So here's an exercise that you can do to help strengthen up the lower back and make you more comfortable when sitting down. So the lower back is the most common area of complaint for sitting cross-legged, and there's only a certain amount of time that someone can sit up straight. After that period of time, the lower back muscles fatigue and we end up in this position. So it's very important to strengthen those muscles so that we can sit for a longer period of time. So this exercise strengthens the lower back so we can sit straighter. Come onto your front bring your hands out in front of you, and then raise your back so your chest is off the surface, and you can do this on a carpeted floor as a bed will be too soft. Hold that position for 30 seconds and then release. Have a 10-second break and then repeat. You want to do 5 repetitions for 30 seconds. Lastly, prevention is the best cure. So if you're sitting and you're not in an area where you have to sit cross-legged, you may want to try these alternatives. Number 1 is to sit with your back against a wall with your legs outstretched so there's no pressure on your knees. And number 2 is to sit on an object which raises the level of your hips so that there's less or no pressure on your back.